post it on your Instagram as long as we go less than we could stop at 59 minutes. So that'll be perfect.
I'll post it wherever, of course.
Thank you. Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. Before I introduce today's guest, I want to thank Dr. Sil for this t-shirt that she designed for me for my birthday. I'm still getting the presents. Thank you guys so much for the kind wishes and the cards that keep coming in. And thank you for thinking of me. Oh, I got one other present I wanted to show. I'll show it tomorrow. I didn't grab it. It's somebody drew a superhero poster of me. It was very, very cool. So today's guest has a wonderful YouTube channel and Instagram channel. I don't even know how I found her. I just remember seeing a picture of her and I thought her makeup is like beautiful. I wish she would come on my channel and teach me how to do makeup like that. And maybe she will one day, but she also does something that I love. It's my favorite topic. It's what I really teach at the end of the day. It's what my book is about, which is calorie density. And she understands it. And what I love, and I mentioned to her before we went live because it's my first time meeting her, is that all the hot girls you see with YouTube channels that are losing weight with a vegan diet, they're all doing some form of calorie density. And she really understands it. Please welcome to the show, Melissa Alexandria. Thanks so much for being here.
Hello. Oh my gosh, this is really surreal for me to be able to meet you. I've watched so many of your videos and I'm just really honored that you invited me on your show on your birthday week, no less. So
well, I'm so happy to have you because you really understand calorie density. And even like 10 years teaching this, I still get people that come to me in my classes or clients that still want to weigh and measure their food and they're afraid to eat. And that's how you lost weight, by eating large volumes of food, but the right food.
Yeah. No, honestly, but I can also relate to, like you said, to the people that don't 100% get it, because sometimes you need one tiny little piece of information to really make it click. And, you know, for me, I actually tried an oil-free vegan diet. I called it back then a few years ago, and I did lose weight. And I thought, oh, wow, this worked. And then I treated myself here and there with, you know, richer foods. And before I knew it, I had gained back, you know, all of it and then some. And then I went back to your videos and to McDougall videos. And there was one video in particular that really just made me see that, okay, not only did this work, but this is like the only thing that really makes sense to me. And I want to find a way to do it forever. And that video was a webinar with Dr. Anthony Lim and Gustavo Tolosa. And he has, I recommend this video to everybody. So I'll share links again to it. And basically it's where he showed like 2 bowls of lentil soup equals 2 Fig Newton cookies or something like that. And when I saw that, I was just like, this really is the only thing that works. So now I have to figure out how to make it work for me forever. When I'm on vacation, when I get invited to someone's house, when I'm out longer than I thought I was going to be and I don't have food on me, like what can I do? And so I just really became fascinated with simplifying it and making it doable. So every time I get a message from someone who says, you know, but I have my brother's birthday party, or but I have this, or but I have that, I kind of have my go-to tips and tricks that I really like to share to help people make this work for them. And yeah, that's what I'm passionate about.
So were you plant-based before you lost weight? Tell a little bit about your journey and your story.
Yeah, so I went vegan in 2014. I believe it was September or October. I went to Italy and I wasn't eating meat, but when I got back, I went 100%. I went vegan. And at first I did it honestly just for the health benefits. I was watching a bunch of videos of people who were like 60, 70, 80 years old. And I've always really been fascinated by longevity. And then, so that's my initial reason of why I tried it out and why I did it. And then as I was watching all of these videos, I was stumbling upon all of the animal cruelty videos and really diving deep into all of that. And that's what solidified it for me. And I never looked back. But I was eating a lot of vegan cheeses, vegan processed meats, making like burritos and vegan pizza, pretty much junk food vegan.
Right. Yeah. And that's junk food vegan. I don't see people losing weight being junk food vegan.
No, not at all. And in fact, I didn't really realize it because I wasn't looking at the packages, but so many of these vegan processed meats, what they're based off of is oil. Like that's the main component of all of these things is oil. And yeah, at 4,000 calories per pound, I'm not surprised that I was gaining weight eating all that.
Yeah, that's just, and that's why it's hard for people to eat out, because restaurants traditionally use a lot more of it than even people would at home.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Everyone has kind of this different threshold for how much of these foods they can tolerate before they gain a lot of weight. And so some people will say, but can I have a little bit of this and a little bit of that? And I just say, who am I? Like, I don't know your metabolism. I don't know what your body is going to do. I just know that moderation doesn't work for me. And every time that I've said, I'm going to just have a little bit of peanut butter here, I find myself a month later, I've put peanut butter in my oatmeal every morning, because once I start, I just really go down that path of eating those rich foods. And so I just really got creative and thought, there must be ways that I can still enjoy the same food that I like now, and just make it a low calorie density version. And that takes time, that takes experimentation. And some people just want that quick fix. They want to say, I'm going to dive into this tomorrow. And they expect all the food to be just as tasty as the packaged processed food. And it's just not. It's going to be a process. And so I just encourage people to be aware of that and to be patient with all of this.
Right. Well, I find when people say, can I have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, I mean, one of my heroes and my mentors, Dr. Alan Goldstein, and when people have said that to him at True North, he goes, well, it depends. And they'll go, depend on what? He goes, well, it depends. How fat and sick do you want to be? Because his feeling is if people could have moderated the use of these products and not been overweight or had a disease, they probably would have done it already.
No, that's exactly right. And I actually have to thank you. That's one of the things in your videos that when I heard you explain your experience for why moderation doesn't work for you, I could totally relate. And I just thought, that's me. And for so many years, I felt that was something I just had to work harder on. And I think that a lot of people, some people actually are better at it than others. I remember sitting at restaurants with my mom, and we would notice there'd be 4 ladies sharing one piece of cake, and they'd each have a bite and then put the spoon down, and we'd both be like, are you kidding me? That's just not me. I'd eat the whole piece by myself and then want more. I'm not someone who can have one cookie and then put it down. And I think only when you are honest with yourself about your own personality, and you can kind of look at yourself in the mirror and say, listen, this hasn't worked for me thus far. I need to be honest about my tendencies, or I'm just going to keep fooling myself and falling back into these same traps.
Yeah, it's not, when I've listened, I watched a lot of your videos to prepare for this interview, and it seems like you really understand the work of Dr. Doug Lisle.
Yes. I'm a big fan of the podcast. The audiobook, I listened to the audiobook version of The Pleasure Trap, and I recommend it to so many people. My top 2 books that I recommend to everyone are The Starch Solution and The Pleasure Trap.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah. That's, I always recommend, my top 2 books are mine and The Pleasure Trap, just because.
And top 3 and yours.
I'm just funning with you, but I agree. The Starch Solution is an amazing book. I prefer his other book though, which is called The McDougall Program for Maximum Weight Loss, because that's even more steeped in the principles of calorie density.
Yeah. I think for me, my I guess teaching, what I show people is kind of like an entry to this for someone who thinks that they can't do what you do. Do you know what I mean? I kind of feel like, say someone gets to the last 10 pounds and they're like, hey, I've been following low calorie density and I've been making these meals and I've lost a bunch of weight, but now I can't lose the last 10 pounds. Well, maybe they need to kind of dial it in a little bit more and then follow something like what you do.
I'm the last stop on the train.
You are.
When it didn't work.
People who are ready to get serious.
Absolutely. But see, the thing is, this whole concept of moderation, other than people like my husband or Dr. Lisle, who are genetically going to be thin regardless of what they eat, we have a population in our country where over 70% are overweight or obese, something like over 40% obese. So I don't see how for them any kind of moderation is going to work.
No, and it's hard. Because I also believe that you can't make someone do something. I'm not forcing people to do what I do, but I love YouTube because it's my own channel and I can kind of just say, hey, this is what I do. This is who I am. This is what works for me. These were my own stumbling blocks. And I think people can kind of relate to bits and pieces of what I do. And I get a lot of people who say, well, no, I'm not going to give up putting tahini in my salad dressing. And I say, okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, speaking of tahini, I may as well show this now because you showed something like this on your channel. I mean, this is, let me put my thing down because this is, to me, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And I love zucchini. And this is 1.5 pounds of organic zucchini from Trader Joe's. And I always have vegetables for breakfast. And sometimes I steam it and sometimes I air fry it or grill it. So I could have all this zucchini, or I could have 2 tablespoons of chia seeds for the same amount of calories. I can have 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, or I could have 2/3 of this little pack of guacamole. And what's going to fill me up more, you know?
That is honestly, the peanut butter one goes straight to my heart because I was having like at least like 2 or 3 of those tablespoons in my oatmeal every morning.
That's crazy. And just, I mean, this has no fat. This has a ton of fat. And yes, it's healthy fat, but if you got fat on your body, you don't need to be putting fat in your mouth.
Yeah. And realistically, who is going to have like a tiny little pea-sized portion of peanut butter? Like if that's what you need for your, you know what I mean? If you're going to make that argument that it's healthy, all right, fine, have that much of it. Who's going to do that? No, you're going to slather it on toast. You're going to roll it up with dates and make desserts and, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So when did you struggle with weight ever before?
Honestly, I'm no, when I was a teenager, I didn't struggle with it or anything like that, but I'm 5'2.5". I'm quite like, I've got a very small frame. And when I was, I guess in my late 20s, I slowly started creeping up there in weight and I got almost to 140. And when I noticed that, I was like, that's for me, that's a lot on me. And I could just feel it. Like I wouldn't wear jeans. I would only wear like loose dresses and skirts. I just didn't feel comfortable in what I was wearing. And I just didn't feel comfortable in my body anymore. And I thought, I want to figure out how to do this in a smart way. And yeah, I'm about 105 pounds right now. So, and the thing is that I didn't think I would even get down that low. I thought I would be about 110, 115 pounds. And I reached that and I was like, great, cool. And then I personally, and not that I'm recommending this for people trying to lose weight, but I personally started adding in some tofu, some avocado, maybe once a week. And sometimes I'll have pasta with broccoli and things like that, because I actually a couple of times have dipped below. I've been like 104, 103, and I'm like, I don't want to go lower than a healthy BMI for me personally. And so, yeah, I got the calorie density does the work. People they don't believe that, but you're not doing the work. You're just putting the food in your mouth and let your body and your metabolism do the work.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you eat large quantities of food. That's the best.
Massive.
Yeah. Where did you first hear calorie density?
I don't remember the first video, but I know it was, I went down the rabbit hole on YouTube, basically. So your videos, I've watched a lot of Gustavo. I really like his webinars that he has. And then, yeah, so I don't remember the first one, but definitely you were one of the first ones that I've seen.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm honored that you watched my videos. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's watched my videos. I've been watching you for forever. So.
Oh, yeah. And you're so kind that you give credit to other people. And that's very kind on your channel. And you mention other people. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So you have some hacks. Well, they're not really hacks. They're just, they're science of ways to lower the caloric density of all your meals.
Yeah, well, exactly. So my thing that I like to share with people, and this kind of just came as a result of me showing my what I eat in a day videos. A lot of the feedback I was getting is like, I love that you use like frozen veggies, or I love that your meals don't follow complicated recipes and you kind of just throw a bit of this and a bit of that. And for me, I was like, oh, people really relate to this. And this is obviously a stumbling block. People are feeling like, oh, I'm not good enough of a cook or a chef to come up with great vegan creations. And this wouldn't work for me. So I kind of address all of those concerns that they have in my videos. And I thought I'd share some ways to simplify weight loss and calorie density. And if you're not ready to dive in 100% and just do this completely, these are things that you can kind of do to kind of ease your way in and try this out for yourself. So yeah, the first one I wanted to share was, well, basically the way I like to think of calorie density, and just like a really simple term, is just diluting the food, diluting the calories of your meals. If someone says, what's calorie density? It's diluting the calories of your meals by eating more food that has water content and fiber content. And so a really great way that I share in my videos to do that is to just get a big box of organic super greens and put a handful in all of your meals. And like, I'm not a salad person. I don't really like to sit and eat raw salads. I know that's probably not a good thing to admit, but I sneak these in everywhere. So when I make my chickpea dips, I do like a chickpea and lemon dip with apple cider vinegar. And then I'll put a massive handful of this in the blender, and then I'll make my no oil potato fries. And so I'll dip that in there. I like smoothies. I have smoothies all the time, but I always include a massive handful of greens. Again, this is 104 calories per pound raw spinach. So it's just a great way to get your greens and to also dilute the overall calorie density of whatever meal you're making. So something else that I'll do is I prep a lot of grains. So this one's barley. So a really quick way that I would make a lunch was to just get a couple scoops of a grain, throw some beans in there, and then chop up some greens, mix that all together in a bowl, add some lemon juice, add my favorite spices, and there you go. Like, it doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to follow a lot of recipes. And I think something that I like to tell people is ask yourself, can you make this work for yourself even when you're not motivated? Because people often go into this when they're motivated. They've just watched a bunch of exciting YouTube videos about someone who's lost a bunch of weight, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to do this whole food plant-based thing and I'm going to lose weight, and they print off all of these fancy recipes, and then like maybe they do a vegan lasagna one night or whatever, and then the next night it's like, okay, now what are you going to eat? It's like, well, maybe tomorrow you're not going to be as motivated. You might have had a bad day. You might not feel like peeling and chopping and doing all, putting an hour and a half into your meal. So you have to have these kind of really quick and easy meals to just make on the go, on autopilot, and make it a part of your life.
Yeah, it seems to me, at least the people that I've met that have been successful, not just losing weight, but keeping it off, they eat simply. They're not, even ones that are chefs, we're not making all these recipes every day. We kind of eat repetitive meals, just like Dr. McDougall does.
Exactly. And I think that is just a personality thing as well. Some people want a lot more variety in their life, and that's just going to be a lot more work. And I just tell them, like, realistically, then you have to put even more work into prepping these meals. And if you're someone who is okay with eating the same few meals on repeat, then you're a few steps ahead, because it's more likely that you'll be able to stick with this.
But the thing is even repetitive meals don't have to be boring. So for example, there's 18,000 different kinds of legumes. People, they could live their whole life out without trying every kind of bean or grain, 4,000 kinds of sweet potatoes. There's like 40 flavors of California balsamic vinegar. I can have a different flavor every day. So, and there's different food preparations ways, sometimes I air fry, sometimes I grill, sometimes I steam. So for me, it never gets boring. I switch the components up, but the basic idea of most of my meals are by calories starch, but by volume vegetables. I love the food I eat, though. That's the other thing.
Yeah, and I'll do the same thing, but with my spices. So I love liquid smoke. I always talk about it because it makes everything taste like hickory. So I'll make a hickory flavor one night, and then the other night I'll add dill and garlic powder, and you know what I mean? So I can take the same barley, lentils, and greens and add different flavors every time. But again, you have to, when these days come and maybe you do, overindulge and eat something because you couldn't be bothered to make a meal, don't let that stop you. Use that information, use that quote unquote failure, and ask yourself, what was the reason for that? And just use that to make the next time that happens, not happen, if that makes sense. So if it was that, oh, I didn't have any groceries on hand, well, next time you better go to the bulk section, stock up on barley, rice, potatoes, whatever it is, and have that at home, because you don't want to keep using that same excuse of, I didn't have what I needed at home, so that's why I ordered pizza. Like, only you can make this work for yourself. No one's going to be there to hold your hand every single day. We share inspiring videos to help people and encourage them and give them ideas, but it's up to you ultimately.
Yeah, and I mean, because the world's not set up for anyone to eat healthy, especially, calorically dilute, nutrient-rich meals. I mean, there's like 2 restaurants maybe in the United States I can think of that I can eat at.
And it's night and day from other countries. I love Thailand. I always talk about Thailand. I'm obsessed with it. And it's such a difference. Like, if you're in Thailand, you step outside of your accommodation and you look left and you look right, there's fruit stands, there's fresh smoothie stands, there's everything that you could possibly want, fruit and vegetable wise, at your fingertips, inexpensive. And half of the time they use like bamboo leaves or whatever for packaging. So it's plastic free as well. But hopefully we will get more of that over here at some point.
Yep. And I love how you tell people on your channel that not to have the stuff in the house.
Yeah, well, that's something that you always say. If it's in your house, it's in your mouth. And I just think that comes again down to being honest with yourself. And I think sometimes we try to fool ourselves, but you can't. Like, you could say, oh, well, my husband likes to have his chips in the house and it's fine, I'm not going to eat them. But if you've fallen down that trap and you find yourself eating them again and again and again, you just eventually have to say, it doesn't work for me. I can't keep certain things in my house. And that really just, I don't know, I think a big thing that prevents people from being successful with this long term is comparing what works for someone else and saying, well, Susie down the street, her husband eats a different way, then she stays on her diet and she's fine. If that's not you, that's not you. There's like a lot of power that comes with being honest with yourself about who you are, your tendencies, even the ones you don't want to admit. We always say like, oh, I'll have the willpower to not like dive into that jar of peanut butter. But maybe you won't. Maybe, maybe 3 days from now when you're in a bad mood, you'll just dive into it. And I say, why even have that pressure? Why not just simplify your life, clean up the environment, fill it up with healthy food? And yeah.
I agree, because the environment isn't just what you remove, but what you put in. And you had mentioned motivation. Motivation doesn't last. Willpower is not effective. But if you have healthy food ready, you're going to eat it.
Yeah. And it's funny that that's one of the questions I get asked all the time is, how do you have willpower? How do I have the motivation to stick with this? And when people say that to me right away, all I think is, or like, say I get a message from someone, it's like, Melissa, I've been doing this for 2 weeks. I've only lost 1 pound only, which to me, like 1 pound in 2 weeks is good. It's decent. And they're like, how do I stick with this for longer? Like, I can feel myself being tempted or whatever. And that just tells me that they're not enjoying it. They're looking at this as a punishment that they're, living through, and they're miserable through it. And I say, your job is to find a way to enjoy it. I don't feel that way because I like my food. So if you're obviously forcing yourself to sit there and eat celery sticks or something that you're not enjoying, get creative. Like, I'm sure maybe you don't like the food that you watch me make in my videos. That's fine. Everyone has their own preferences, but get creative. Mash up potatoes, add some different spices to it, see what you can do to make something taste, reasonably good. It's not going to be as good as the junk food that you were eating every day, but as long as you can enjoy your meal, then it's going to make it so much more likely that you can stick with it long term.
Right. I think the problem is that most of the women, at least that I meet, they're still afraid to eat starch and large volumes of potatoes, rice, and beans like we eat. That's how we lost our weight. And then they eat the low calorie dense food, like the vegetables and the fruit, and then they're hungry, and they don't realize that especially if they come from a history of low carb or keto, which is basically a trick where they're just losing water and glycogen, and they come to this way of eating and it's not fast, they give up. It took me 27 months to lose 47 pounds. That's more than 2 years.
Yeah. But people don't want to hear that. When they start out on day one, I think they're secretly thinking that in 2 weeks, they're going to be down like 20 pounds, or not really, but there's that hope, because you look at a before and after picture and it's like, oh, I'm at the before, I want the after. It's like, there's a lot of months that went in between that you're not seeing pictures of, you know? So that's why I say, don't focus on the weight at all. And people, again, they don't want to hear that, because the reason they're doing it is to lose the weight. But focus on the food, focus on making meals that you genuinely enjoy eating. And then the time will pass so much more pleasantly, because you won't be sitting there eating food that you don't like.
Right. And, you know, I always tell people, do the least restrictive program you can do that'll get you the results you want. And they're willing to do almost anything to lose weight. But then they, like you say, they go back to doing other things to try to maintain the weight. And that doesn't work either.
No. And that's what I did. I kind of, the first time I thought, oh, I did this. Yay. Okay. Well, now I'll try some of this and try some of that. And then no. But yeah. So another one that I was going to share with you is, food prepping on Sunday night. And now I say food prepping, not meal prepping. So what I mean by that is I'm not putting together entire meals. I'm just prepping starches mostly, so that I have containers of them, so that when it's time for me to make lunch, I can take a scoop of this, a scoop of that, put it together in a bowl, season it, and eat it. And so I'll show you some examples of what I do. If you have Winco where you live, we have this in Arizona. I've kind of newly discovered it, and I am in love with their bulk section. So these are just red lentils, which is one of the things I've been prepping every Sunday night, and it's just been made lunches in the week really easy for me. And so 2 cups of dry red lentils will make me 2.5 of these containers here. And so, like I said, a scoop of this, chop up some onion, big handful of greens, and add in apple cider vinegar, whatever seasonings you like. I'm a big garlic and onion fan, so I put that in almost everything. And another thing that I've started prepping as well on Sunday night is barley. Now, I love this because you can eat it as instead of oatmeal. And it's not mushy. So a lot of people complain that they don't like mushy porridge and oatmeal. This kind of holds its shape, and it's much heartier, and there's almost a chewy texture to it. And so I've been eating this instead of oatmeal. And so when you prep it, you can just take a scoop or 2 of this, put it in a bowl. You can warm it up in the microwave. If you use plant milk, you can put some unsweetened plant milk, lots of cinnamon. And then I use frozen berries. So I'll just take a handful of frozen blueberries or raspberries, mix it all together, sometimes slice a banana as well. Like, my portions are big. I like to be full after my meals. I'm not someone who has a bunch of tiny meals throughout the day. I have a few large, very, very, very filling meals. And I don't snack a lot either. But that's just me personally. Doesn't mean you have to follow the exact thing that I do, but that's just what I do, and I share what I do.
Yeah. And I don't like mushy food either. I've never liked cooked oatmeal, but that's why I like oat groats, because they're toothsome and they're more like rice.
I haven't tried them, but people have recommended that to me. I might try it.
They're really good. And we have Winco by us too. That's an amazing store, and it has so much organic. It's amazing. I love Winco.
It's so good. So good. Groceries were very expensive when I lived in Canada. So this is like amazing. I was going to say a kid in the candy store, but I tried to hold myself back from that one. But yeah, and so food prepping on Sunday night, basically look at your past experience with any diet that you've ever tried and ask yourself, why didn't this work? Use all of that information and prepare so that when you're eating this way now, you can prevent any of that from happening. So if it's like, oh, I was never full. Okay, well now let's prep some really filling meals. And that's going to take some experimentation. Potatoes when in doubt, because they're like 350 calories per pound, extremely satiating. You can make them in a variety of ways. And again, a great food to prep and keep in the fridge so that when you're hungry for the week, you can make a meal in like 5 minutes.
That's amazing. So people are saying, is it okay to eat white rice? I eat white rice. I had it last night for dinner. I love it.
I love Thai jasmine rice. It's my favorite. And I have some prepped right here. So something that I do is I will take, what did I eat yesterday? I had onion, black beans, rice, and then a bunch of greens. And that was, oh, and corn. I warmed up some, I use frozen vegetables all the time. I warmed up some corn and then I put that in here. I have a big mixing bowl. I mix it all together. And that's the other thing. My meals don't look all fancy and pretty like a lot of other Instagrammers. It's not my focus. I just mix together all these ingredients, put them in a bowl and enjoy it. And so I try to just make this, I guess, like doable for people. I don't want people to feel that this is an intimidating thing to try. Like it's just this perfection. And if you can't do that, then you're not welcome here. I don't want it to be like that. I want people to feel that, like, I even have people who tried my 30-day challenge. They were not vegan before this. They tried it and they said, you know what, I'm going to stick with this and I'm going to stick with it as like vegan. And I said, wow, that's fantastic. So I just think that's great that people feel that this is something that they can try, no matter how they're currently eating, no matter their lifestyle, that's something that they think is doable and that they could try.
Well, it's interesting. There's a few people saying, well, I gain weight if I eat rice and potatoes. And, you know, we recently had Dr. McDougall and Dr. Goldhammer on the show. And I've never known anybody to gain weight eating starch unless they're eating like a lot of salt or fat with it, because you can't gain weight at a caloric density that low. And you talk about that. You say 700, I say 600 calories per pound on average, but it's impossible to gain weight unless they're doing something else. Potatoes have 1 calorie per gram, you know?
Yeah. But you know, that's challenging. Like a lot of times I'll have the same thing. Someone will say, I ate this and I gained weight. And like, I just say, like, I would need to know so much more information to really give you any feedback that would be actionable for you. Because like you said, oh, maybe they went to a restaurant and they ordered rice with vegetables, well-meaning, and it was full of oil and they didn't realize it. So, you know, if you're not there to see exactly, I wish I could have everyone at my house and I just cook for everyone, but it's not doable. But yeah, so that's why I make the videos, just to give people ideas and hopefully inspire them to try this out.
Well, the thing is, people shouldn't be weighing themselves anyway. And like, and you say once a week, I say either never or once a month, because if they're eating this way, they have no choice but to lose weight. The calendar will do its magic. I mean, tens of thousands of people now through the McDougall program in True North, nobody has ever gained weight eating this way. Now, the scale may go up if they came from a low carb or a restrictive way of eating, because you're going to have 2 pounds of glycogen now and 2 pounds of water, which you didn't have before because you were avoiding carbs or eating enough food. But nobody has ever gained fat eating potatoes, rice, beans, fruits, and vegetables. It is impossible. Then they're defying the law of thermodynamics. And we had Dr. Mark Hellenberger from Berkeley explaining, you know, de novo lipogenesis to people, but it was just a little above people's pay grade to understand that it's not possible to gain weight eating to the left of the red line. It's just not.
I wish that I could tell people, well, I suppose I can, but I wish I could make people eat this way for, say, 3 months without weighing and without even thinking about weight loss at all, but just eat this way. Because I find that the first month or two, even a pound or 2, 3, 4 of weight loss doesn't make them feel that different. Maybe doesn't make them look that different. And it just doesn't feel like enough progress for how much change they've made to their lifestyle and how much effort they've put into eating this way. And so, yeah, I think people can get discouraged, you know, even in a month, if they've lost 3 pounds, they're like, so what? I wanted to lose, you know, dress sizes, and I wanted to be in a bikini. So I wish we could just have people eat this way without thinking about the weight, at least for like 90 days. Then they'll really notice it. And then they'll be likely to like keep up with it. So, but again,
no,
go ahead.
No, what I was gonna say is, I forgot. So you keep
That's okay. Well, I have my list here of 5 things. So I should go through that list. The third one, a way to simplify your weight loss with calorie density, is to have a go-to meal plan. And it's just 3 breakfasts, 3 lunches, and 3 dinners. And this is actually one of the steps on the free 30-day challenge that I'm running on my channel. And basically this is like, because one of the things that I hear from people is, I just don't know what to eat. I don't know what to make. And like people will say that, they're like, I had potatoes and broccoli for lunch 3 days in a row, and I'm running out of ideas of what to make. So I just tell people, okay, get creative with meals, find some that you genuinely enjoy eating and write them down. Take pictures of them, 3 breakfasts, 3 lunches, and 3 dinners, and promise yourself to always have the ingredients to those simple meals at home. So you can have like an accompanying capsule grocery list of 20 to 25 items that will enable you to mix and match those ingredients to make those 3 breakfasts, lunches, and dinners. So when in doubt, you might have the idea that you're going to cook these gourmet, amazing vegan meals, but when in doubt, and when you only have 15 minutes to whip something together and you're stressed out and you don't feel like cooking, you can just go to that list and make one of them.
Right. And what I remember what I was going to say is, even if people aren't trying to lose weight, most people eat a dismal amount of vegetables. Just in general, they eat something like less than 10% from fruits and vegetables, over 92% from animal products and processed food. And so the same formula for health, which is adding more fruits and vegetables, is caloric density. It's going to lower anytime you add vegetables, you're going to improve your health because the food's highest in nutrient density, or the food's lowest in caloric density. And that's also going to be favorable for weight loss. But, I don't know how many pounds of vegetables you eat a day, but I eat like the minimum, like on the worst day, I've never eaten less than 2. And then when I was losing weight, I was eating like 4 to 6 pounds of vegetables a day. Guys, look at this plate. Look at how much food you can have. So what do you want to eat? You want to eat all this, which is going to be full of fiber and water, or you want to have this because this has the same amount of calories as this, or this, or 2/3 of this. It's not, people think, well, I'm overweight because I had trauma or I have emotional problems. Dr. Lyle explained to me, I have those things, by the way. So I'm not telling people like not to get help for that or to diminish their experience. But you're overweight because you have math problems. Once you understand calorie density and employ it in your eating, you have no choice but to lose weight. It's never not worked.
No, it's true. And if someone's looking at that plate of zucchini and thinking, I don't want to just chew on zucchini, that's boring, I don't want to live that way. That's why I say get creative. You could make it garlicky zucchini, you could make it whatever, spicy zucchini. Get creative with the food so that you can actually enjoy it. And again, your palate does readjust. The first few weeks, maybe this food isn't going to be that exciting to you, and that's normal. You can only do your best. You can add lemon and lime, you can add spices to try to make it enjoyable. It's not going to compare to the pizza that you had last week. It's just not. The first few weeks, you do just have to realize that this is different and it's going to get easier, and it does.
Exactly. As long as they're not going back and forth. That's the problem.
No.
People want to live in both worlds. They want the results we've had. They want to be our size, but they want to still keep eating peanut butter, drinking alcohol, going to restaurants. You just can't be in both worlds, because every time you dip into pleasure trap, you can't enjoy the food the way that we enjoy it.
And I think a big part of that is the mindset that you're treating yourself with rich desserts and treating yourself. And I think we have to stop. At least for me, I tried to stop using it as but it's, it's so-and-so's birthday. It's a treat. You did such a good job today. You deserve that cake. Stop looking at junk food as a present to yourself.
Well, the real treat is looking smoking hot like you. See, that's the treat, not eating crap. You have to reframe it.
Oh, you're my new best friend. Then you just
see, that's what I love, because I'm an old lady. I'm 61, and
you're not.
But here's the thing, but that's what I love about the younger generation of YouTubers using calorie density. They're all hot and they all understand calorie density. I don't see people on other programs looking like you, teaching weight loss that really understand it to the level you do, and that's why I'm very impressed with your work, and that's why I asked you to be on the show, because you get it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm flattered. I'm blushing.
I like smart people like that. So I love it. And you practice what you preach. You eat the way you don't have a hidden agenda. This is what you do at work. People can either do it or not, but it's never not work. It's just that they can't do it or they don't want to do it because, they're so stuck in the pleasure trap. And, food addiction is real. It's really hard for people to neuroadapt and appreciate the way we eat, especially when they're still living in an unclean environment and, going to restaurants. They'll never really adjust to the food. But once you do, our food, my God, I have food gasms every day. I make Japanese potatoes and I air fry them. They taste like cake. And I love my food.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I just think like I do have compassion for it. And I have compassion for the fact that people, I don't think they're trying to fool themselves. They genuinely think, oh no, I'll have the willpower. I can just keep that there. And I've heard people say, oh, I'm gonna put the food in a different cupboard. And to me, I know me, I'm thinking, but when I'm hungry, I know that I put the food in that cupboard. That's not gonna work for me. So I think people like, it's hard to look at yourself and say, like, this is where I've kept falling into the same trap over and over and over again. But when you can actually recognize patterns in your own life and say, this has not worked for me. This is probably never going to work for me. So I need to set my life up and make, structural changes so that I don't keep falling for those same traps.
Right. Well, you know what they say, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always gotten.
Exactly. No more of that for me.
While you were losing weight, did you have to exercise a lot? Do you exercise a lot now? And if so, what do you do?
I only do 10,000 steps per day or more. So as far as I don't do any vigorous exercising. I don't go to the gym or anything like that, but I make sure that I move my body. And for me, a big part of that is actually mental as well. Like I find that all my good ideas come when I'm walking and moving my body. It gives me so much energy. It just makes me feel very alive. And I just love to walk. And that's what I recommend that people do. That's an easy, again, I try to make this as simple as possible. You can do the more difficult levels of this if you want. You can jump in and do an AJ diet. And if you can, and that's fantastic. But I don't want to throw a bunch of things on people and be like, you also need to do an hour at the gym every day. You just need to move your body. You just need to not be sedentary.
Right. No, I shouldn't be the first at point of entry for people trying to lose weight. People come to me when nothing else has worked. I'm like I say, I'm the last stop of the train for people.
When someone's like, I'll do anything, just tell me, what do I need to do? It's like, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if I could have done a more lenient program, I would. That's why I say do the least restrictive program that you can do to get you the results you want. But the thing is, people really have to know themselves. So for some people, a little salt's okay, a little of this, a little of that. But for some people, it isn't. And that's why nobody should compare themselves to me or you. We're different. We eat a little bit. We eat in a calorically dilute way, but we eat a little bit different. But what they do is they say, well, so-and-so says nuts are okay. And so what they do is they cherry pick everybody's program. Then it's a real disaster because they're not doing anything.
But I think what kind of simplifies that, if you zoom out a little bit, is just like the overall gist of all of this is dilute the calories of your food per bite. That's it. So if you can dilute them to the level that I do it and it works for you, fantastic. If you still have done what I've done and you've still got another like 15 pounds to lose and it's not budging, you need to dilute the food even more. Like that literally always is the answer. So when people ask,
solution is dilution. That's why if they really just take the time to read chapter 2 of my book and understand calorie density, that really is the secret. Well, Barbara says, hi there, Melissa. I made your cauliflower potato soup the other day. Delicious.
Oh, hi. That's fantastic. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So the other one on my list, number 4, is not being afraid to take shortcuts like frozen veggies, frozen fruits. I use that all the time. They're picked from fresh. Obviously, if you get fresh, organic, that's, ideal. But if you can't, I just want to make this doable for people. So if you can fill up your freezer with a bunch of frozen broccoli, frozen corn, frozen peas, frozen berries, and mango chunks, then you always have that at home. It's, you can't have the excuse, oh, my fruit all went bad, I forgot to get more. You've got a freezer full. These are ways to kind of foolproof this way of eating so that you can't really use any more excuses because we've taken it down to the most simplified way of eating possible.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
You've done 4 so far, right?
Okay, 4. And then my last one is for people who say, because I do believe that even though I say to eat until you're comfortably full and not weigh and measure your portions, I think many people are still kind of subconsciously doing that. And they're putting like tiny amounts of food on their plate. And then they're like, I'm still hungry an hour after my meal. or I don't know when I'm full, when should I stop? And like a lot of confusion around this. So I always say, when in doubt, make extra. So make large portions of food, something that and also snack on your meal. People are like, I want snacks. What can I have as a snack after my dinner? Well, if you're hungry again, just go get another spoonful of the soup that you made earlier for dinner and eat that. Like that's what I do. And then my big bowl of lentil soup, I'll grab a bunch of spinach and put that in there as well. So, I mean, again, you want to make this simple. If you're cooking already, for example, I love my sweet potato black bean chili. I'll make that, but I make way more than I think I'm going to eat. So I have some for the next day. And every time I make dinner, I leave the food on the stovetop. And because I know in an hour or two, I might want more of that. I'm not looking in the pantry for snacks. There aren't any there, but I just say, okay, well, if I'm still hungry again, I'm going to go and eat that because I enjoyed what I made for dinner, or I snack on fruit.
Right, exactly. A lot of people say they're hungry, but they're confusing hunger with food addiction and appetite. They're hungry, but they don't want any more of what they ate. That means that they want some cheesecake. When they say, after they've eaten a full starchy meal and they say they're hungry, they don't want more of that. They want something.
Yeah, and the same goes with people like, oh, I want something crunchy to snack on. But they don't mean celery. They don't mean like raw pepper. They mean they want like pretzels or chips or crackers. And the reason that you want that to snack on is likely because you're still hungry, and that's calorie dense. Trust me, if you are full, beyond full of a big sweet potato chili that you made, you're not going to be thinking about crackers after. It's unlikely. Like you're doing yourself a disservice by under eating. They think they're doing like a good job. Like, I'm going to eat a little bit. It's going to help me lose weight. It's like, no. You need to eat a lot of this food because it's so dilute of calories.
Yeah, that's right. That's the thing. It's because most people, especially women, have come from a history of restrictive dieting, eating thimble-sized portions of food, counting calories, carbs, weighing or measuring. And they don't realize we eat a lot. I mean, I eat probably 3 pounds of food in a meal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. My portions are huge. And I think it just takes time for people who've had a dieting mindset for a long time to get comfortable with that. I think they feel that they're doing something bad, like that it's shameful for eating this massive amount of food, and that it's not going to help them toward their goal, even though it is. So it just, that part, you kind of just have to get the experience under your belt. Once you have the experience of, oh, eating these large amounts of food, I've still lost some weight, then you can kind of like, you've proven it to yourself that it works. And that's really the only information that's going to really register. Like, you and I can say it to them as much as possible, but if someone's got 80 pounds to lose and we're telling them that eating all this food is going to help them lose weight and they don't believe it, the only way to really get it is to do it and see it.
Yeah, that's why I have like 21-day programs where they can run an experiment and see that not only didn't they gain weight, but they lost weight, and they, for the first time, felt full and satisfied.
Exactly.
Yeah. So where you said you were able to reincorporate some things after you lost weight, like tofu, but were you ever able to add in like the high fat nuts or
no? I honestly say that the foods that I really attribute to my weight gain are oil and nut butters. I really believe that now, like, because I've had avocado. It's not avocado. Avocado is what, 700 and something calories per pound. Oil is close to 4,000. Like, it's a big difference. And yeah, so I believe that oil, like, those are my two, like, no, not ever going to happen. I'm never going to be drizzling olive oil over my food. I'm never going to be, and you don't need it. That's the other thing people don't realize. Like, if you want to make like a stir fry type of a dish, you can saute anything in water.
Right. Well, nuts are like, I don't remember if they're 3,000 or 3,200 calories a pound, and seeds 2,600. The food we recommend in a low caloric density, it's mostly fiber and water. So that's why you can eat so much of it.
Yeah. And fruit. That's another question I get a lot. Like, I eat so much fruit. I never count how much fruit I'm having. I never even pay attention. Like, some days I won't have as much. Other days I will have so many different fruits in huge quantities. And that really doesn't matter. Like, it hasn't, like, what I'm eating every day changes a little bit. Some days I'll make desserts with frozen bananas and you know, cinnamon, whatever. Other days I'll have like big bowls of grapes, frozen mango chunks, I don't worry about it at all. Like fruit is something that I can eat a lot of. And again, everyone's different. I know that maybe my metabolism is a little bit different, that, you know, as long as I'm staying under that 700 calories per pound number, I can literally eat whatever I want and not gain the weight back.
Do you have any friends and family members that either eat like you, or you were able to influence just to go plant-based?
I have an aunt who is vegan, and I don't know if I influenced her. She was vegetarian for like 20 years when she was younger, and then she went back, and then in the past few years, she went vegan. I know she watches a lot of my things, but I don't know if I didn't ask her if I influenced her to go vegan. And then my fiance, he's not 100% vegan at all, but at home, he like eats how I eat. So when he's essentially a pescatarian. When he goes out, if someone offers him a dessert and there's like dairy in it, he'll probably eat it. But he's been great that I don't have that stuff in our house. So he eats all my meals when he's at home. And is very supportive of me eating this way. And whenever we go out, he's the one to check the packages on things for me and tell other people like, oh no, she can't have that. Or do you have anything for Melissa? Because she doesn't eat that way. And so
that's so great that he supports you. Where would you like people to check you out? Instagram, YouTube, both? I can put everything in the show notes. You gave it to me, but just tell them right now too.
My Instagram is Melissa Alexandria 01, and that's also my YouTube channel. So it's just, if you just go into YouTube and type Melissa Alexandria, then I should show up. And I also have a website that I just started a couple months ago. It's pretty new. It's just lowcaloriedensity.com. So it's got some recipes, and a lot of the people who are doing the free 30-day challenge have submitted recipes, oil-free recipes that I've shared on that website as well. And I just want that to kind of be a hub for people who are curious about this. If they're brand new and they just want to know what is calorie density, like where do I start? That's basically what that website is about.
Right. Do you ever do any cooking demonstrations?
I haven't, no. Again, I don't think of myself as a cook. I'm like a meal maker. I just put things together on a plate. So, but maybe I will. Maybe I'll do some videos like this in the kitchen and film some, yeah.
Well, just because we have watching live Thomas Allen, who is the owner of California Balsamic, and every guest that's on the show, they don't get it. If they come on more than once, we don't keep doing it. But the first time you come on, you get to choose 2 free samples, 2 bottles of California Balsamic vinegar, which is, has no oil or no sugar or salt either. And you mentioned that you love the smoky flavor. You might like the hickory smoke, and you might be able to come up with some recipes with that.
I'm sure I would. Yes. Thanks for that. I'll have a look at those. I'm excited.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, I think you're wonderful. I love the work you do, and I'd love for you to come back and either cook or just show me how you do your eye makeup. Some of the videos, I mean, it's just stunning. You're gorgeous, and you're just smart as a whip, and you understand this so well. It's just, if we could get people just to believe that carbs do not make you fat, starch doesn't make you fat. It's fat that makes you fat.
Yeah, I think I don't use the word carbs ever. I don't ever say that. I just say, and I like the term wet starch because it kind of differentiates that in their mind. I'm like, this isn't crackers we're talking about. This isn't cookies. This isn't croutons and bread and wraps. And it's like, oh, okay, it's something different. And so it's a way to kind of ease them into it.
Right. And it's not, I like Dr. Jen Hawk says now, steamy starches, because and that it's unprocessed. That's the difference, because crackers, pasta, cereals, that bread, it's if it exists, eat it the way it came in nature.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for what you do. It's been a pleasure getting to know you, and really fun talking to you. Let me just see who my guest. Ooh, I got a good guest tomorrow too. Yeah. Very nice. So yeah. The things you gave me were the 5 points. Is it okay if I put those in the show?
Yes, for people? Absolutely, absolutely. And there's a free 30-day challenge. So if you go to my channel and just watch the intro video, you can try eating this way at home by yourself for 30 days.
I love it. Skinny hot girl, not afraid to eat potatoes. Right. What more can you want? No, seriously. So you were great. Thank you so much, Melissa. I just love what you teach. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow, where my guest is Dr. Ashley Gerhardt. She is the one that developed the Yale Food Addiction Scale. So if you don't believe in food addiction, you have to tune in tomorrow. But the show is at a special time at 9 a.m. Thanks again, Melissa. Take care.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.